Here we go.
Okay, good morning everybody. My name is Pertti Alasvirta and I'm a chair of the Finland-Hong Kong Business Association and also the main consult for the Hong Kong TDC in the Nordic area. And we have a common cause, the both to help the Nordic and the Finnish companies to go to and through Hong Kong to the Asian markets. And we have been working 40 years and the Hong Kong TDC has been doing this 60 years. And all these Hong Kong TDC, OASIS and the different organizations in Hong Kong and the government organizations are the tools for us to help our members and make the easy access to the markets. And at the moment we have several companies ready into Hong Kong. One of our members in Dipperfox is in the exhibition there and it has been a very successful start ready and a lot of good contacts and they are very focusing to the markets in China side also. And the other success story is going on in the Finnish water company Vellamo, who will be the Haas Formula One race sponsor, and they are also in the wine and spirit event in Hong Kong, and we are organizing them a lot of networking and connections in the Asian markets. And we have also developed this matchmaking platform, what you will get the free in your association members, and that is very simple tool to connect to companies' needs and what they are offering. And it's automatic when you do your profile here, then it gives you the matchmaking for these companies who are interested about it. And there is no any extra connections between the companies. You always have to accept the request from the any companies are coming. And when you have a match, then you just start to communicate between these companies. And we don't see it and nobody sees it, you only see it yourself. We only collect to the numbers of the matchmakings to see that how it works. And then we also have event matchmaking here that everybody can put their events here. And then when the events are here, then it's easy to access these events because you have only the events what you are interested in there. And this will be shared to everybody in very soon. And only thing is that you had to be the member of some association that we have a quality control for the companies that they are existing and they have all the registration what is needed. And then a few slides about the Hong Kong TDC. Hong Kong Trade Development Council has been 60 years very active and helping to access to the Hong Kong and the Hong Kong markets and also the Asia and the Great Bay Area. Okay, next slide. And it's in the different kind of material and promotions are very well available when you need any marketing information or any kind of networking in Hong Kong, or you need to find something that you don't know. This is a really good platform to work together with the Hong Kong TDC. Okay, next one. And Hong Kong TDC is around the world. It's 50 offices, 13 in mainland China, but the rest is around the world. And this network is also in our use. That it's not only the Hong Kong and Nordics, but it's also the Hong Kong and the world and the Nordics in the world. That it works in the very good ways. Okay. And there's a lot of research papers available and information about that. And there is address, the research hongkongtdc.com, where you can find a lot of analysis, news, and the market and industry profiles that you can really make your homework before you go to these kind of markets. Okay, next one. And next two very important exhibitions, which has been very successful always. Everybody who has been attending this is Asian Financial Forum, which will be there in the 27th January. Just mark it down and let your friends and members to know it. It's a very good place to raise money. There is last year more than 3,000 investors in there, and they really know the Asian markets. But you had to have the companies who go there, they had to have some kind of turnover and the trust before they go. And the other one is very good for the Nordics, where we are very strong in all the Nordic countries. It's a medical and healthcare fair, 11th and 13th of May. And if anybody is interested in anything, just take the contact to the business association or straight for the Hong Kong TDC Nordic office. Okay. And then there's a different kind of sourcing possibilities, that there is more than 2 million registered buyers in the area, and a lot of the suppliers, and plenty of 500,000 products, and a lot of connections annually in there also. That when you use our matchmaking tool, you can matchmake in the company level, and if you use these Hong Kong TDC sourcing tools, you can connect to the globally. Okay, and that's mainly what I had to say fast about that. We don't take too much time from the next presentation, which is very much most important issue today. That we have a very interesting presentation from Patrick Halford. He's a managing partner from the Fjord Quarter Ltd, and he will show us that how we can do things smarter, faster, easier, and less money needed to go in this business. Patrick, the floor is yours, please.
Yes, okay, thank you, Pertti, and thank you, Miriam. It's great to be here. And hello to everyone, wherever you are in the world. I'm Pat, or Patrick, and I'm Scottish, so I'm European, of course. But I live in Finland. And I work for a company called Fjord Quarter. We do two things. Basically, on the left, we help investors, private equity, to understand the impact of AI on their portfolio and the risk. And then on the right, actually, most of our time is spent working with SMEs and mid-cap companies, understanding a little bit about how to gain more capacity, accelerate the business. And this is what I'm going to talk about here. And we're going to also have some demos as well, if we have time. Some of you probably recognize this picture, but my background is basically I've been working a lot in R&D and building partnerships between corporates, university research, SMEs and startups across Europe for the last 7-8 years. But now what we're finding with the AI is that on the one side, we have this acceleration in capability of doing R&D, scientific discovery, and all of the processes around that. And there's some amazing things happening there, which is allowing us to bring down the cost of doing scientific research and then hopefully commercializing it faster. So tasks are coming down from, years to months to weeks to days in many instances. And of course, we're being able to now discover new materials and molecules as well. And then on the right-hand side, in the business side, we've got access to the same evolving AI technology tools that again allow us to compress time and do things in a very, very different way. So you have this across the whole R&D to commercialization and then partnership development. You have this incredible new capability of unlocking cost and unlocking capabilities in our organizations. And by the way, we'll make these slides available as well as the recordings, so I'll send them to me. So what this is meaning is that what we can now do, regardless of whether we're a startup, a public institution, SME or a corporate, we can actually now compress time and cost of existing activities, but also expand and explore into new opportunities at the same time without actually expanding our budgets. And that's a very important thing. But in order to do that, we have to sometimes rewire how we organize ourselves and the processes and the incentives and things like that. So, and of course, this kind of picture, some of you may recognize it. So if we're running a business, say in the middle, we're also, we have to appreciate that our competitors and our customers and AI first startups also have access to the same kinds of technologies that we are looking to exploit. So it's kind of this evolving picture. And also we have the opportunity to form new types of partnerships with new organizations a lot quicker and a lot cheaper. And because we can explore them, we can explore opportunities. We can simulate outcomes and things like that very, very quickly. So instead of waiting, 3 months to 6 months to decide whether we can form a partnership, we can actually do it in a couple of weeks. And then, of course, along the bottom, we have this evolving exponential curve of continuous improvement in capabilities from the various AI tools. And at the same time, the cost is dropping as well. So it's a very, very dynamic and interesting situation. And depending on who you are and where you are and what you're doing with some of these technologies, whether they're LLMs from the different vendors or open source or different types of AI, very often we find that actually we're only just touching the or drilling into the very, very top of what these tools can actually do. And it varies across industries and it varies across disciplines and functions, of course. But the other thing to bear in mind is that over the next, 3 months to 6 months to a year, our capabilities are going to massively increase in terms of what's coming along. So, for example, we're going to have a lot more simulation capabilities over probably the next 3 months coming out from different vendors, world engines allowing us to explore all kinds of really interesting capabilities as well. So and of course the existing tools that we use, the ChatGPTs, the Groks, the Gemini, the Claudes, all these others, DeepSeeks, they're going to continuously improve and evolve around each other. This is all great news for us, of course, because we can take advantage of this in order to grow and scale our businesses. Or if we're in a public institution, we can develop our services much more effectively. So what we have is this interesting situation where, let's just call it AI. AI for me is work, it's capacity, it's speed, it's multiplication of what you can actually do going forward. So we have this situation unfolding across, whether it's at the team level, across workflows, with partners outside the organization, for investors at the board. I've been involved in some board coaching recently where we've actually been showing board members how, instead of waiting 2 months to make a board decision, they can actually analyze all of the data within that single board meeting and then make a decision at the end of that meeting. And that has a tremendous impact in terms of releasing new funding or capital on the business that they can then move ahead with. And then, of course, the evolving AI across the business and the leadership team. Which brings us to the leadership team. And one of the things that we're having to do is not just think in our traditional silos in terms of, how budgets were allocated and how things have always been done. Marketing does this, sales does that, production, R&D, and they all somehow connect together. But what we're now seeing is that AI is allowing us to actually create new flows across the organization. And so that's going to require a new way of thinking about our organization in terms of maybe dynamic budgeting. And one of the things that we've been exploring with some clients and also some investors is this concept that we say you have a budget of $10 million or euros, or whatever currency you work in. You have that budget of 10 million, but actually inside it, there's actually capacity for 20 million, because what we can now do is we can amplify all of the different capabilities of our individual teams and also the employees, but also the output as well. So we can start actually rethinking that whole OPEX, CAPEX, costs of goods, SG&A, all of these kind of things. We look at it in a different way, and it changes the way we think about linear growth of budgets versus revenue and margin outputs. So, but what it does require is, it requires us to start actually thinking about how we deploy or how we accelerate AI into our organizations. So instead of maybe just trying to force it into improving existing processes, maybe we need to think about completely changing a lot of these processes, or doing things in a very different way. And I'm not talking about pilots here. For me, my personal opinion is use it for everything. But of course, you have to worry about guardrails and security and all of these kind of things in your own context. But I'm not a big believer in these pilots. I'm a believer that these capabilities, they can have an impact and unlock capacity tomorrow. And this is just another way of thinking about the challenge that many of us face in our organizations. So we may have annual budgets, and we have these governance meetings on a monthly or quarterly basis, and we have these assumptions around linear growth and linear in terms of revenue and maybe margin and maybe cost growth and hiring and stuff like that. But across the bottom, of course, we have these AI exponential technologies that are massively accelerating and also opening up new capabilities and opportunities. So there's a mismatch, and our competitors and maybe our customers are starting to deploy these. So we have to start worrying now about whether if we're a services company, whether the services we're actually providing are going to be obsolete in 6 months, because the customer can now actually serve themselves with emergent AI technologies, or if there's something extra, we can do that we never considered doing before. So again, this is all around the mindset. And that's why we have to be changing our assumptions constantly. And if I look back, I was running a team of about 50 researchers, funding experts about 1.5 years ago. And if I actually look back to what we were doing then across electronics, health tech, and robotics program partnerships across Europe, with the capabilities we have now in AI, we would have the capacity of 250 people, not 50. So it's a completely different way of actually thinking about what you can do within your existing cost base. So how does it change basically the day or the week in the life of a leader, a CEO, or someone running an operation, or if you're in a public sector institution? How does that actually change? How does it change how you run your sales activities, your sales meetings? You go into the discussions about partnerships with the legal team. How can you quickly accelerate and unlock those legal negotiations? What about finance and operations? How do you think about accelerating the business, maybe moving budget that's been re-released around the teams, not cutting it, but reallocating it to accelerate maybe R&D? How do you use all of these automated meeting capabilities to actually bring that together and gather all of that information and then use it to make accelerated decisions on investments or customer activities? So we've got all of this tremendous opportunity that's just unfolding in real time. And actually, we're going to start talking about I'm going to show some demo examples now, but I do appreciate that we all use different tools, whichever country we're in, and we all have different kind of levels of tolerance risk in terms of what data we can use, what data we can upload, how we use these tools both inside the firewall and outside. So I just want to kind of acknowledge that. But the tools I'm going to be demoing are the ones that I'm using on a daily basis, which are basically Claude, Gemini from Google, ChatGPT, and also the new Atlas as well. So I think what we can do is just dive into some of those and have a look. If I can just take a quick trick. So the first thing I would like to do is actually to show you Atlas. Now, some of you have probably, let me expand this. Some of you have probably heard of the new OpenAI Atlas browser. And excuse me, I'd like to show it to you because it's very interesting. So it looks just like any other browser. I put in the FinChamber website in here, but up here you'll see I have a button that says Ask ChatGPT. So what I could now do, this is just a basic browser, but now what I can do is invoke ChatGPT. So I could say, for example, tell me, let's just see. Let's see how quick this is. Yeah, it's pretty fast. So, but when you go into many websites, often there's a lot of information in there and it's very difficult to find out what's going on. But what we can now do is we can actually start drilling down and having a conversation. And of course, this will appear in my ChatGPT account as well. And what you can then do is start having a very, very interactive discussion. And I could also allow it to take over my mouse, so I can invoke the agent, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not sure if I I quite trust it. Yeah, I think Petty, you might have been playing with that, but you can of course allow it to take access of your mouse and do all kinds of interesting things. Another example would be if you think about the veterinary program in Finland. Finns will know about this. This is the Business Finland funding of all of the big corporate R&D ecosystems in Finland. And I've been heavily involved in this over the last few years. So again, if I put this Business Finland veterinary website into OpenAI Atlas and then start asking it, what's going on here? I could say, so what is Ponsse doing here? Because I know I've worked a lot with Ponsse, for example, the forestry construction company. And I know that down here, there's a whole section in terms of Ponsse's R&D activities. So what it's already doing is it's accelerating the my information insights into what's going on. So of course I can also unlock this, and then I could go in and have a look at what Ponsse is actually doing on their Forward 27 R&D program and all the partnerships they have, and then I could start talking to ChatGPT about that. So this Atlas, and I'm sure the other, AI companies are going to start following this, but this Atlas is a very, very interesting way of actually exploring and accelerating information. And I think actually it's going to have a big impact for, on maybe education, edtech, and also within universities as well as in companies as well. So that's the first demo I recommend having a look at. The second one is Claude. So some of you may work with Claude. I use Claude a lot for kind of deep analysis. And let me just switch it up here if I go to Claude. So what I use Claude for is if I want to go really deep and if I want to start creating some interesting infographics and then also some algorithms to do a lot of ongoing kind of research. So up here, I actually prepared this demo earlier because it was a bit slow. So what I wanted to do was do some research on all of the Finnish clusters around the different regions in Finland to find out what kind of R&D has been going on in the different regions, but also cross-reference that, not just with the companies, but cross-reference it with the university research as well. So what it then did was, it, give me some very, very interesting information in infographics, and I split it out by, energy and photonics and health tech and all of this kind of thing. Now I did this in 2 minutes, and of course I got a report as well. So what I could also do is then go deeper and deeper, but I could also take, say, some of this information, and I could maybe, if I copy this, I could then go into a Google Notebook, which some of you may use, and I could say, let's paste that text in and just see what happens. Let's put that in. So Google Notebook is very, very powerful, and I often use it together with Claude. So now we have the text from the Claude analysis of the Finnish innovation clusters and SME landscapes. But what I can now do is I could maybe make a mind map. So here we have the mind map being generated, and let's see what happens. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so it's a very, very small mind map, but basically what it's doing is reading the text that I've inserted, and then also it's accessing Gemini underneath that to try and build that out. So again, this is a very, very powerful way of visualizing a lot of complex data that you may have created in another tool, but you actually need a better way of understanding it or explaining it. Of course, the other thing I could do in this Notebook LM with this data would be maybe we want to make a video. Maybe we want to make a brief video, for example, of that text, and let's just say Finnish for now. For me. Okay. Now this will take a few minutes to actually create, but it's a very, very useful set of capabilities. So all of a sudden, and I could make a podcast and I can download all of these things and then put them into descript and then take that text and reuse it. So all of a sudden we've gone from this idea where we create with a single prompt, we ask for an analysis, we get that analysis, we get a very visual experience, and then we can actually use it in 4 or 5 different ways. And of course, we can create videos and podcasts in 50 or 60 different languages. So what that does is it massively multiplies the capacity and capability that we have within our organizations. So you think about the power of what you now have in terms of marketing, or if there's some technical training you need to provide to teams around the world. So this is a very, very powerful set of capabilities. I could also create different reports, for example. So maybe I could create a blog post. Let's see what happens there. It's going to take a couple of minutes. So we'll come back to these in a minute when they've been created. So that's the first demo. Let's go back to the let's go back down to that's the Notebook LM. The second one is I don't know how many of you are involved in say planning and design, but what I really recommend you do is have a look at Google Gemini Nano Banana. Some of you may have already been playing with that. Now, what I did earlier about 10 minutes ago was take a picture of this this wall here, and then I just simply asked Gemini to put a sauna in there. And the interesting thing here is about how it gets the dimensions right. So you can imagine that if you're, say, planning a new office, or you're planning I don't know, a hospital, or you're planning all kinds of things outside or inside, all of a sudden you have this, instead of, booking someone and bringing someone else in to do all of these things, you have this incredible capability on your phone that you can use to actually visualize and accelerate. And again, this comes down to capacity and cost in terms of what we can now do with our organizations. Another one is, let me go to full screen for this one, is our ability in terms of sales and marketing, and how this changes the whole unlock in terms of creativity. Now, up on the left, this is again Gemini, Google Gemini, and this is their VO3 engine. So on the top left, you have a photograph I took from my kayak in the summer. And then all I did was upload that to the Google Gemini, and I typed in the prompt, just said, put a Jack Russell in the water and have it swim around and jump up onto the kayak. So let's see what happens here. So that's pretty interesting. I'll play it again because it's kind of fun. But that's pretty interesting in terms of the physics of what it actually does to all of these elements that are going on. And of course, this is just a silly example, but you can imagine the number of different applications that this has, maybe across your business as well. And also in terms of marketing, but also with customers, of course. And I think what's going to come next very, very soon is our ability to actually go into these videos, go into these images and actually move around. So with World Engines, we're going to see a lot of simulation capability, which creates a much more dynamic kind of set of tools that we can then apply. So things are going to start getting really interesting then. Oops. Okay, let me go back now and see if some of these tools have been created. So if I go back into, we have a blog post. So what it's done is it's created a blog post based on, and I could have made this in any language, by the way. It's created a blog post based on what we created in Claude. So again, very, very powerful. And you can automate all of these things as well. And you can create multiple blog posts multiple times, and create video and audio, and it's just mind-blowing in terms of the capacity that we now have in our organizations. We are still waiting for the video to generate here, so we'll come back to that. The next one I wanted to show you actually was Google Stitch. So some of you may work in organizations where you're actually designing and developing applications or user interfaces. Now, this is not an app builder, but what this does is it allows you to visualize what a potential app could look like. So for example, I could say, create an app for forming partnerships between Finland, Hong Kong businesses. Now, I've never tried this before, so let's see what the demo gods have in store. So what it's doing on the left-hand side here, and this is Google, and this is completely free, like the Google Notebook is very free. So now what it's doing is thinking about how to design this app, and it's going to come back with a series of questions. So it's already come up with a series of kind of messaging prompts, and it's actually asking me if I want to create all of these. I'm just going to say yes, let's go for all of this. This might take a couple of seconds. What I'll do in the meantime, I'll just go back to this Google Notebook and see if the video is ready yet. No, it's not ready. Okay, so 40 seconds, if you just give me that amount of time. Here we go. It's already started to think about the screens for this app. So in the back of your mind, if you think about, how much time and cost, either for your internal design team, or if you're paying external consultants or advisors to actually come up with designs for applications, whether it's for mobile or for laptop or both, that's a lot of money wherever you are. But now we have the ability in a workshop to actually start ideating on this very, very quickly. And that is incredible. And then what you can do, of course, is take these designs when they finally arrive. You can actually take those to your development team. And I'll come to the development element in a minute. Let's go. Take a drink. I think it's going to create these one by one. So there's the different screens in the mobile.
You can maybe ask about the.
Here we go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll ask later.
Yeah, well, you can ask me now and I can try and answer.
Yeah, I've tried the Google LM for the research.
Yeah.
I feel like what I'm struggling with is sometimes to find the correct sources.
Yeah.
I think that's how do you tackle that, or do you have any
What I would
tips
do
for
is,
that?
if I created a new Google Notebook, one of the things you could do is click on this Discover Sources. So I could say, for example, let's say find the Finnish University R&D. Let's just say centers. So you can put in any kind of prompts you want, and then what it will do is actually start scanning for you, and then as it comes up, you can decide what you bring into your notebook. So it's come back with it's gone out to the web, and it's basically analyzed probably around all of the different universities. We see Aalto, University of Helsinki, Oulu, Turku, probably UEF. So then you can say, okay, I don't want this one, or I want these, and just import them. Yeah, so that does a lot of the heavy work for you. And then, of course, if you want to, for example, let's just wait for these to load. So this one didn't work. But then, for example, if I take all of that off and say you just wanted to see what was going on in University of Helsinki, I could then just create a mind map for that one. Or I could create a video for what Helsinki is doing, or Helsinki and Aalto, or Helsinki and Turku, it doesn't really matter. So now all of a sudden I have this mind map of what's cooking in Helsinki, and if I click on any one of these, it takes me back to the source material, hopefully. So that's how I get around that problem. Just do the discover sources element, and it could be YouTube videos or PDFs or websites or again, it's a massive multiplier in terms of capacity. Let's go back to this stitch thing. So now I'll zoom in. I'll zoom in a bit more. Now what we see is we actually have, we have the design of our app. So this is not an actual app. It's just a suggestion. And what Google is doing down here is asking me, would I like to add some more screens? I can also tell it to do X, Y, and Z. I can also tell it to change the colors, to move these different buttons around. But you can see that this is an extremely powerful way of very, very quickly going from someone's idea or maybe something on a PowerPoint to, hey, we've got a possible design here. We can test it with our colleagues in Hong Kong or Estonia or wherever, and then we can get that out to our development team. So think about what this does to in terms of cost and capacity and capabilities as well. Let's just go back to the, I want to go back to this other.
I was thinking maybe the notebook could be very useful for, let's say, market research. If you want to expand your business in Asia, for example, how do you see, could this be useful for that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's a game changer. And what the other beautiful thing about this notebook is I can share it. So I can have, 5 or 6 people working in different countries. Miriam, you would be the owner of it, but others can be interacting with it, and you can, quickly ideate, you can, create new content. It's super powerful, and of course it's free. We've got a video now. So we've got a video of this data that we originally created in Claude, and if I put it on full screen, I'm going to leave it to the Finns to decide if it's any good.
Niin, katsotaanpa miten Suomesta oikein tuli tällainen innovaatioiden supervalta. Vastaus voi yllättää ja se löytyy yllättävän pienistä tekijöistä. Kyse on nimittäin pienistä ja keskisuurista yrityksistä. Ne ovat koko Suomen talouden selkärankaa. Ja mikä kiinnostavinta, ne ovat todella tuottavia verrattuna moneen muuhun maahan. Yhteensä ne tuovat Suomen talouteen yli 60 miljardia euroa lisäarvoa joka vuosi. Mikä on siis Suomen salainen ase? No, se on fokusoitunut voima. Nämä ovat siis keskuksia, joissa parhaat osaajat ja freshit ideat kohtaavat. Ja tämä kuvaa loistavasti, miten eri kaupungit vaalivat omia erityisvahvuuksiaan. Otetaan esimerkiksi Oulu, todellinen pohjoisen voimanpesä. Oulu on todellinen monitaituri, joka on huipulla monella eri teknologia-alalla. Tällainen keskittyminen synnyttää globaaleja hittejä, kuten vaikkapa Uurasormuksen. Ja sama homma toimii muuallakin. Kurkataanpa vaikka Tampereen. Tampere on fotoniikan tutkimuksen ja huippuluokan bioteknologian kärkeä maailmassa. Eli mitä tästä strategiasta sitten seuraa? No, luvut ovat aika huimia. Pelkästään cleantech-ala tekee melkein 26 miljardia euroa vuodessa. Samaan aikaan fotoniikkateollisuus on ampaissut yli 2 miljardiin. Hurja kasvu. Mutta Suomi ei todellakaan aio jäädä paikoilleen. Katse on tiukasti tulevaisuudessa. Tähtäimessä on esimerkiksi hiilineutraalius ja puolijohdealan liikevaihdon triplaaminen. Tässä onkin mielenkiintoinen haaste. Isot firmat panostavat, mutta pienemmät eivät pysy perässä. Kysymys kuuluukin, miten Suomi saisi myös pienet yritykset innovoimaan entistä enemmän?
Now, I don't know what you thought of that, but I want to say something. Because I put only a piece of the text into this to generate this video, it was very incomplete, and there was some strange kind of outputs there. And so, for example, if I'd included some stuff around what was going on in UEF, then it would have obviously hit on Joensuu and photonics and all of these kind of things. So you have to make sure that you're putting in the right kind of content in order to start generating these kind of things. But again, what I could do is download this and then start editing it and playing with it and adjusting it. And when I actually go to create this this video, I can be a lot more specific. So, for example, I could actually type in very, very detailed demands of what I want from the video or from the audio podcast. So that's the key thing to remember. You have to make sure that you're putting in the right kind of stuff, because then it can go off and create all kinds of funny things. So we've talked about Stitch. I also would like to talk about Google AI Studio. So this is a game changer. Some of you may have heard of these tools like Lovable, where you can vibe code kind of apps and websites and ideas. But Google came out with this a couple of weeks ago. And what it allows you to do is actually create an app and deploy it immediately to the web and have people using it. So for example, if I was to, let's just say, create an app that analyzes, let's just say websites. No, let's create an app that enables say Finnish and Nordic, other Nordic. Baltic, Hong Kong businesses. Give info graphics. Let's see what happens here.
You've got the business away.
Oops, yeah. Now this one might take a while, but it's actually what it's going to do is go away and start generating code. So we can come back to this in a little while. But again, what it does is it's another part of it takes away a lot of the heavy activity and time and cost that we might be going through in our organization. This might not generate a real app that we're actually going to use, but what it does is it gives you ideas that you can then take to your team. So we'll come back to this in a minute.
I think we have a question from
let's take-
online, so feel free, Jonna.
Hi,
Just
thank
open
you.
your
This is very interesting. I have a question. I've been using Lovable myself and kind of playing with that. And one reason why I chose that to play with my kind of a idea was that Lovable says that if it actually would become into an idea that I would, or an I don't know, ready enough app that I would like to actually take it to the market, I own the code. Is there a lot of differences in these tools if you start playing with them in regards of the ownership of the code that you create with that particular tool?
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
the question, thank you. This is Google, of course. And what you're allowed to do is you actually own this code now. And what I could do, let's go back and we can see that now we have the startings of an app, and it's actually invented. I think it's invented some company names here, but it's basically created some kind of high-level graphics about business in the Nordic region to try and attract Hong Kong investments. But coming back to your question, we have some code behind here, so you would own this code. You could actually take this code into Claude, for example, or some other editor. You could play with it. Your developers could enhance it, or you could update this app and this code here. And then what you can actually do is you could publish this yourself, and this will get published on Google has this new kind of app store for these new apps. So this is Google's attempt to basically, I think they're trying to, they've seen what Lovable has done, which is fantastic, and it's a great tool. I've played with it. But what they're trying to do is use their cloud, their capabilities to maybe take a piece out of that market. And then what Google are definitely going to do is connect in this ability to create GUIs, front ends, and then connect it into the actual development of the app, and then probably link it across all of these other Google tools as well. So it's interesting to watch how all of these different things are playing out. But I think to your point is you now have more flexibility. So I'm sure that Lovable will respond. They probably have a lot of things they're working on already that we haven't seen yet. So this is, at the end of the day, it's just great news for all of us because we're getting all of these cheap capabilities that transform our business. Does that help?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Yeah, so you can see that we can go very quickly. We could be in a meeting or a workshop, and we've been analyzing, say, a cluster where we could maybe build partnerships. We've started thinking about, what kind of new apps we could create, how we would design the user interface. We've also created some videos, some mind maps. We've looked at this in a very, very different way. So now we can actually, visualize this. We could have put a website in here and we could start thinking about, what does it actually look like from the outside? What would a competitor look at this and think? What would a customer think about all of this? And the last demo I actually wanted to show you was we might want to take some of this and actually present it to maybe investors or our board. So some of you may have been, I'll just take some text. Some of you may have used Gamma, but we use it all the time. If I just paste into Gamma, say, structure, and I say generate a presentation from this text. What Gamma does is it actually sits on top of a LLM. I'm not sure if it's ChatGPT, but it starts thinking about how to organize this data, and it gives me options on the style of the presentation as well. And it says it's going to create this in 10 cards. Let's just see what happens. This is very, very interesting. I did this in front of a board the other day, and they were like, it kind of blew them away because, they usually have a couple of people working for hours or days on the board presentation, but all of a sudden, you get the right information, and this can be edited, of course. It can be exported to PowerPoint or Google. I can get it into Google Slides or PDFs, or when it's finished creating, I'll just show you some interesting tricks on this as well. But when I think about all of these are all nice tools, but when I'm thinking about using them is in terms of orchestrating the business. So, what extra capabilities, capacities does that do? How does that change my assumptions about actually what new markets I can go into, because I've now got all of this extra time and capacity. So every single line item in my salary sheet is now amplified because they're using combinations of these capabilities. So if I just say, for example, I could actually say, let's say, I could say clean water technology research in Finland with 4 female Finnish scientists. Let's see if that works. And of course, I can update the text. I can change all of that. Yeah, so now we've got a lab with some female Finnish scientists. I don't know if they're Finnish, but I could also add some interesting graphics to this. So maybe I want some fancy graphics. It would auto-generate some interesting images. Let's see what it comes up with here. So again, this is very, very powerful. Now, I'm conscious of the time. We've talked about a lot of different things. We've talked about some of these assumptions about actually what we can do to scale our business, and we've been through some demos. So I'd like to just hand it over for some questions now.
Thank you very much. It's very interesting, and as you said in the beginning, that you can use any kind of tools, and the main issue is that how you can use this most creative way to increase your business without any extra budget, and make it your small team in the SME and the startup from 1 to 3 people to 15 people, 20 people without any budget, and you can create much faster way for the markets.
Yes.
That you can create all these business plans and everything automated as long as you have basic information right.
Absolutely.
And that's normally you have in your own product or your services, which you can really well use all of these. And also the bigger companies, you can create a lot of the strategy issues in the right level in the right time.
Yes.
And you don't need to use any consults.
Yes.
in here. And then what is your way of business that you can teach how to use different kind of tools, and you create about webinars together with your clients, and you can share it that one. You can maybe tell before the questions a little bit about your idea about how you can create your business with this information that you have.
Yeah, I'm really interested in helping people, not just on the technology side, but also rethink what you can actually do with that existing budget and that headcount that you have in your organization. Because what these tools do is they flatten the whole playing field. They democratize everything. So if I think about what we do, we have some algorithms in Claude that give us the same analytical capabilities as Nordea Bank. I know that for a fact, in terms of what we can do to project technology impacts on different industries and portfolios. And so you think about what you can do across your different organizations, whatever industry, or whether you're in research or public organization. It's incredible how it just democratizes everything. And the capabilities are going up every day, and the cost is coming down. Of course, there are many things we have to constantly think about in terms of guardrails and security and risk, but you have to balance that based on your own context.
Very good. Okay, now we can go to questions. Any questions?
If there's no questions from online, I could ask, what are the how would I say, the most usual pitfalls for using these tools?
Sometimes you spend too much time playing with something and not enough time getting the right output and getting something that will move you to a decision, or so you can get too excited by using these tools. The other thing is using too many different tools together. So we basically standardize on Claude, Gemini, and ChatGPT. And between the three of those, and this Gamma thing, which is separate. But also what we're finding is that every couple of months, Google Gemini, ChatGPT, they're expanding their capabilities and they're killing off thousands of AI startups anyway. So you have this massive consolidation. It's good news for us as users, but it's bad news for startups. Some startups.
How big of a difference is, or does it make? I remember maybe a year ago everyone was talking about that you need to learn how to prompt and so on. Do you think that's relevant anymore?
Well, yes, but also the LLMs are getting better. But I use voice a lot. So if I'm driving or if I'm trying to describe some random ideas that I can't put into word, I'll use my voice, and then it's really good in whatever language. Crazy story. I was in a meeting with some Americans the other day, and there were actually 4 people who brought their ChatGPT voice agents, and they were having a conversation with each other. It was getting really weird. Is there a question? No.
Okay, please have questions, and also that if you are interested to get the more education for this type of ideal use of the different kind of tools and how to create your team more effective and a better way to go to markets, you can contact to us in the association or straight to the PAT and continue to discuss, and that if there's enough interest we can also organize some kind of education together as everybody pay a small amount of money to PAT, and then you can be part of this group of the very focused training about these things, because they are really powerful and they really increase to capacity to do the things faster and easier and cheaper, and that's typically what we need in the business today.
And it doesn't matter what industry. Tomorrow I'm with cardiologists doing this, and the day after with some electronics organizations, some SMEs. So, it's really, it doesn't matter what type of organization you are. So the capability is incredible for all of us.
Absolutely. So if you're interested, just contact us, and we can organize something a bit more focused. But I think this was a great introduction to all of the things that we could use.
Yes, and before we stop, that just a few comments about how about the maths? What do you like about it? Do you have a use for this kind of service in Sweden?
Just putting on the video. Yes, of course. I mean, it was really, really interesting. I mean, I'm using some of these tools, but it's just the small details of it, you know. So I think, and also I would like to also, you mentioned that you should go through your new tool you developed with Hong Kong. Will you
Yes,
do
yes.
that?
Yes, this will be, Miriam will send the information to you how to access in these tools and how to use it and all these things. That it's coming very soon. Yeah, and also the MOE that we are going to do, because this is a very important that we not only connect from Nordics to Hong Kong, but also the Nordics level, that we can compare our association members in Hong Kong and the Nordics together and found more power. And when we use these kind of tools together, when we have networking each other, then we are much, much stronger than we are today. Because there's always a combination about the different kind of services and products what we can offer in the Hong Kong and the big markets, where the scale up it's from the 100 millions of the people. It is completely different what we have here in the Nordics. That's a very combination, and we need to do everything also together, faster, more effective, less money, and create the possibilities to our members in all these Nordic countries to create a job and the taxpayers.
Yeah, perfect. You record this and you will share the recording also, hopefully.
Yes, that's it. And you can share it to your members and everybody.
Yeah, perfect. I will share it to members and also other contacts,
Yes,
you know.
yes.
It's,
And we
it's
can
a great.
organize this event anytime again and try to get thinking, because it's a lot of to think and it's hard to think everything in the one time. But maybe we need another one and we can have more discussions, and when you look it through, then you have more questions, and we can have more in the question and discussion session, and then go in the deeper in this kind of service. Because it's not a question about the tools, but it's a question of how to use this in the brain and clever way, and how you can create it in your own business in the better way. That's the main idea about here. There is a lot of tools. There's different tools in the Asia, and there's different tools in anywhere in the world, and there is coming every day the new tools a lot. That's not the problem, but the problem is how you use it and how you take the most efficient way to use them in your business, and that's what Pat can, in his experience, very well to train all of us to in our own business. Great. Thank you very much for joining us.
Bye. Yeah, thank you.
And have a nice week and
Thank you so much.
do the
Very
successful
good.
business. Thank you. Bye bye.